college football national championship is set after the Ohio State Buckeyes take down the Texas Longhorns. Welcome into Four Verts. My name is Harrison Graham. We're going to react to Texas Ohio State. A few thoughts on Penn State Notre Dame as well, and then an early preview of the title game between Ohio State and Notre Dame. We'll probably do another video between now and the championship game, doing a kind of a longer preview, so be on the lookout for that. Before we dive into Texas Ohio State, though, this is why you subscribe to the channel. A little under the weather. I was going to have a video out last night after Penn State Notre Dame, but battling through it here tonight to get you caught up on the college football playoff, plus triple header of NFL games tomorrow. So we'll have a video tomorrow night as well. Full reaction throughout the NFL playoffs. Lots of coverage to come. Daily content, NFL, college football. Lock us in here on Four Verts. Okay, Texas, Ohio State. Kind of a bizarre game. Jekyll and Hyde. I thought the story of the game for pretty much the entire first half and then some of the third quarter as well was the self-inflicted wounds by Ohio State. They get an early stop, fourth down stop, where Texas is kind of in fringe field goal range, go for it mode. They go for it, don't get it. Ohio State goes straight down and score 7-0. They get a 3-and-out, get the ball back. They're driving down again. Travion Henderson, unsportsmanlike penalty after a play, pushes them back. They have to punt. 10-plus yard penalties. I think they got clipped with a holding and then another personal foul on their next two drives. They were just killing themselves, and all of a sudden you look up, it's 7-0 late in the first half, and then Texas finally puts a drive together, ties it at 7. But I thought, and there's no way to downplay it when you look at how this game played out, the Travion Henderson 75-yard touchdown on a screen with less than 30 seconds in the half. I mean, that's a classic, like, let's see if we could pop one for 10 or 15, and if we can, we'll take a timeout and try to get into field goal range. Not only did they pop it for 10 or 15, they popped it for 75 to take a 14-7 lead into the locker room. Completely took the momentum back, which was huge. Now, to Texas's credit, Ohio State got the ball to start the second half. Will Howard threw a pick. So they didn't give up the sandwich, which coaches talk about all the time, for teams getting the ball to start the second half. Scored it in the first half, which they did. Scored to start the second half, which they did not. Unfortunately for Texas, they picked off Will Howard at about midfield and didn't turn it into points. So that was tough for them. But they later scored again to tie it at 14. And then it was a ball game heading into the fourth quarter at 14 apiece. Will Howard engineers a 13-play, 88-yard drive that included a 4th and 2 QB power conversion. Judkins scored a few plays later to go up 21-14. And then to Quinn Ewers' credit, and look, we'll talk about Quinn Ewers' bizarre career. Pete Thamel reported that he plans on going to the NFL draft. We'll see what happens there. There's been NIL rumors of a big offer from another school, so we'll see. But there's something about him that typically late in these close games, he makes some plays, and he drove them down the field all the way until they get 1st and goal at the 1 after a pass interference in the end zone. They get stuffed on 1st down, 2nd and goal at the 1. My thought was run it inside the tackles again. If you don't get it, then put the ball in Quinn Ewers' hands. I also thought maybe this is a spot you go to Arch Manning. They used him on a 4th and short earlier in the game. Now, we got dinged up on that play, so I don't know if he was injured or not, but what does Steve Sarkisian do? He does like a pistol a toss play to the perimeter that lost 7 yards. So all of a sudden, it's 3rd and goal at the 8. 3rd down play, ball tipped the line of scrimmage, incomplete. 4th down, Ewers holds the ball too long, but he's trying to wait for somebody to get open. Cameron Williams, Texas right tackle, who's a pretty high draft prospect, just gets embarrassed on a swim move by Jack Sawyer. Quinn Ewers, former roommate at Ohio State. For those who don't know, Ewers, true freshman year, he was at Ohio State. He redshirted. They were roommates. And he strip sacks Ewers and runs it back 85 yards for the game-sealing touchdown to win 28-14 with about 2 minutes left. So if you look at the final score, it's like, well, Texas was 1 play away from tying this game with 2 minutes to go, but didn't play out that way. I do think the better team won. The penalties really were kind of an equalizer. Ohio State had 9 for 75 yards, killed multiple drives in the first half, but Texas's defense came to play. when it comes down to it, other than one drive in the second half, Texas, and it's been a theme in a lot of their big games this year, just could not run the ball. 29 carries for 58 yards in this game, 2 yards a carry. And while Quinn Ewers in big moments tends to elevate throughout the course of a game, he's very erratic. He's all over the place. 23 of 39, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. The pick was after they got the ball back down 28-14. He's trying to push the ball downfield. I don't really have an issue with that, but the accuracy can wane. He doesn't move that well. His future is very murky to me. If he goes pro, is he a third-round pick? Fourth? Like, I look at the two quarterbacks playing tonight, I might take Will Howard over him in the draft. He's bigger. He's a better athlete, better runner. I think Ewers has better overall arm talent, but you could argue Will Howard throws a better deep ball. Is probably more accurate in the intermediate game. So it's going to be interesting because there was a report a week or two ago that Ewers could get up to $6 million in NIL money, and it was just reported today that Miami gave Carson Beck $4 million. I would imagine a school would give Quinn Ewers $3 or $4 million, and if that's on the table, he's not going in the first round. I would take that NIL offer from another school if it's out there, because one thing is clear: he won't be back at Texas. They're full steam ahead with Arch Manning. He'll be their starter next year, and that'll be that. But I think for Texas tonight, I think Sark had a couple of not so great moments, including that toss play, second and goal at the 1. Like that feels like a panic play. It's like, dude, just run inside again. Worst case, you're going to get stuffed again. At absolute worst, if you run up the gut, you'll lose, 1 yard? Okay, third and goal at the 2. When you go toss play like that, if you don't seal the edge, you can lose 5, 6, 7 yards, which is what happened. Then you're really in a bind. You got 2 plays to reach the end zone where everything is condensed. And the defense knows you have to throw the ball. So that was not good. I thought Texas's defense did a pretty good job overall. They held Ohio State to 3.4 yards per carry, 81 yards overall. They completely shut down Jeremiah Smith. 1 catch, 3 yards. Carnell Tate stepped up for Ohio State, had 7 catches, 87 yards. Ibuka had 51. But a couple of, I think you think about this game, Ohio State won the end of the half and the end of the game. The 75-yard screen pass to Travion Henderson and the goal line stop where they scoop and score, Jack Sawyer strip sacking his former roommate Quinn Ewers, taking it the other way. I mean, those 2 plays are the game. It really, really is. If one of those goes Texas' way, they either win or it's an overtime. So I thought it was a good game. I didn't think either team played their best, but I said it coming in, and I'll say it again here. If Ohio State plays their best, they're not going to lose. They didn't tonight. But if Texas was going to beat them, they were going to have to play at or near their best, and Ohio State was going to have to be off. Ohio State was a little off, but Texas did not play their best. And so they both kind of played B-level games, and Ohio State's a little bit better. So they find a way to win 28-14 to advance to play Notre Dame. Few quick thoughts on the Orange Bowl. Probably the best game of the playoff. What a back-and-forth affair between the Fighting Irish and Nittany Lions. Notre Dame winning on that field goal in the final seconds. Obviously, the big talking point in social media reaction was to Drew Hour's late-game interception. And how classic was it that Greg McElroy, when Penn State got the ball back with like 48 seconds left or whatever, McDonough asks him, "Hey, are you playing this safe going to overtime, or are you aggressive here?" And McElroy goes, "I'm aggressive. Aller's a good decision maker, only 9 picks in his career." Second play of the drive, he 3/4 an arm off his a throw off his back foot over the middle, way late, and it's picked off. You're just like, what a disaster for Drew Aller. Now, I think it's easy to just rip Drew Aller in that game, and look, he was terrible. He really, really was. But look, I think if anything, it's clarity to for him. Yeah, like you do need to go back to school because the whole debate was, well, if he wins another game, maybe he'll go pro. He's not ready. He needs more reps at the collegiate level because too many of his stat lines against big-time top 5, top 10 opponents, the Ohio States of the world, the Notre Dames of the world, 12 of 23, $135, and a awful timed interception. Like he lights up the stat sheet against not great opponents. he's got to become more consistent in these big games. But I think a big part of this game too, because Penn State was controlling the game, controlling the line of scrimmage. They were more effective for the entire first half. But Marcus Freeman, they found the adjustments at halftime. They were down 10-3. They were reeling. Riley Leonard had been knocked out of the game. He came back in the second half. And they found some things that worked. Jeremiah Love had a couple of good runs. Leonard hit the big play on the kind of out and up to tie the game late before getting the ball back and kicking the game-winning field goal. They're just a tough, well-coached, disciplined team. That's what I see when I watch Notre Dame. They're not the most athletic. They don't have the most explosive guys at receivers, although that guy, what's his name, Jaden Greathouse, who caught the touchdown, made two guys break their ankles, so he's got a little juice. And, Riley Leonard, he's a classic, really good, solid college quarterback. He reminds me a little bit of Tim Tebow. He's tough. They're just going to run him a lot. He'll make enough throws. I don't view him as an NFL starter. I saw Cowherd's tweet of, I see Josh Allen. His arm isn't half as good as Allen's, but, is he a backup in the NFL that can, give you some Taysom Hill type of package? He's not as fast as Taysom, but have some kind of role like that? Yeah, I could see that. I don't think he's nearly good enough, polished enough as a passer. I don't think his arm's that good, but good college player, good decision maker for the most part. Actually threw 2 picks in this game, so that was a little out of character for him, but gutted out some tough yards on the ground, especially late to get into field goal range for Mitch Jeter, who's just been nails in the playoff, and they had kicking issues all season. But there's just something about this Notre Dame team where they just find a way, man. They find a way. And you just watch them play. You could it's obvious they're well coached. They have a ton of injuries, guys. Penn State's got more talent. They're less injured, and they're more talented at quarterback. And Notre Dame just plugs away, play after play, just fighting in there, hanging in there, and they win this game. And it's easy. You could blame it all on Drew Aller. And look, it's not Drew Aller's or James Franklin's fault that Drew Aller threw that pick. But to me, have some feel. Your quarterback's not having a very good night. Get that game to overtime where you're starting at the opposing 25 on the possessions, and it's just an even playing field. He's going to have to complete 3 or 4 10-plus yard passes to get into field goal range in less than a minute when he only had completed 12 passes the entire night. This is what bothers me about coaches sometimes. It's you got to feel out the game. It's the analytics argument. It's analytics are great and you should use them when all things are equal, but everything isn't always equal. If Drew Aller's having a bad night, when you get the ball back with 48 seconds left, hand the ball off. Or call a screen. Don't just let him let it rip. And again, he's got to make a better decision there, but he's just having an awful night. Get that thing to overtime, slow things down. Thought that was a really bad coaching decision by James Franklin, who, yes, made the semifinals, but you're still feeling left empty if you're a Penn State fan because your wins were over SMU and Boise State. You're just leaving these opportunities on the table if you're James Franklin. All right, quick thoughts on the national title game. Again, we'll have a longer video when time permits. Ohio State, Notre Dame, January 20th. This is actually a rematch of a game last year. Remember Ohio State scored on the goal line in the closing seconds to beat Notre Dame 17-14? Remember that Ryan Day, Lou Holtz beef that was taking place? That was pretty funny. But I saw the early line is Ohio State minus 9.5. And I was like, that feels high. But look, again, if Ohio State is on and clicking offensively, I could see them winning by 10 plus. But if it's like tonight and they have some self-inflicted wounds, I'll tell you this, Notre Dame is not going to beat themselves. Ohio State's going to have to play well and beat them. They're going to have to execute. Do they have more talent? Yes. Do they have more speed? Yes. But you could argue Marcus Freeman's the better head coach in this game. You would trust him more. Not that Ryan Day's a bad coach. He's certainly a good coach, but you could make the argument that Marcus Freeman is at least in his league. He's done more with less this year, no doubt about it. And look, Riley Leonard is a guy that you trust to make good decisions. So we'll see. Early gut tells me take Notre Dame in the points. I would pick Ohio State to win. 9.5 feels like a lot. We'll see as we get closer. We'll see what some of those Notre Dame injuries are looking like. But Vegas certainly likes the Buckeyes big in this matchup, and they certainly have the playmakers. I mean, look, this game tonight against Texas, if that Travion Henderson personal foul on the second drive doesn't happen, I feel like they go up 14-0. And if that was the case, who knows what happens in this game? Maybe it gets out of hand. But that's kind of been Ohio State at times this year. When they've been on, they look dominant, like we saw in the first rounds of the playoffs. When not, they kind of get stuck in these ruts like they did against Michigan, like they did at times against Penn State, like they did at times tonight. So excited for the title game. And hey, 12-team playoff, and you got the number 8 and the number 7 seed in it. Say what you want. I think the system is at least somewhat working. Obviously, there's going to be some tweaks, but you definitely have that in terms of, hey, like you expand, and 2 teams that wouldn't have been in a 4-team playoff are playing for a national championship. So keep that in mind. All right, I'm Harrison Graham. That's going to do it for us here on 4 Verts. We'll be back tomorrow after an NFL triple header. We got a double header tomorrow. Did I say triple header earlier? Double header tomorrow, triple header Sunday. So full coverage on all of that. Hit that subscribe button. We got more coverage coming up here on 4 Verts.